So you're new to Genshin, you do a 10 pull on the current banner, and while you don't get a 5-star, you do get the newest 4-star Chevreuse. Now what do you get with Chevy besides the French fry-loving captain of the Special Security and Surveillance Patrol? Well, Chevy is a polearm-wielding pyro user who is very, very good at buffing teams that are only made up of pyro and electro. I'm Kessie, Mango, whatever the hell you want to call me. And because not everybody is AR60 with 36-star Abyss, I decided that I was going to try and make videos that hopefully anybody can understand. So if you do learn something, please like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. And with that being said, let's get into this video on Chevy. Just like every other video, we're going to look at the character build before we actually get into the video. Now, I am borrowing my wife's account, who is AR43, because I have done 200 pulls on the current banner on my main account, and I have not gotten a single Chevy. So I had to use her account. So this Chevy is level 60 out of 60 with everything put into her max HP. As you can see, not much energy recharge, crit rate, crit damage, not very high. That's actually like standard for having a character that has no crit rate or crit damage investment. For a weapon, Black Tassel, level 60. We will talk more about this weapon whenever we get to that section of the video. She is running 2-piece Instructor, 2-piece Gambler. We will also talk more about this whenever we get to that part of the video. C1, which I believe the only thing that this does is it just helps with energy recovery. It does not give you the extra shot. So we're only going to be seeing a little bit more energy recovery with energy recharge from that. Talents, 111. So a very, very beginner-friendly Chevy. Now, before we get into it, we are going to talk about Chevy's passive talents and why she is so good. Upon first ascension, you can get Vanguard's Coordinated Tactics, which is her passive. Now, basically what this whole paragraph means is that when your entire party is made up of Pyro and Electro characters, it grants a special status called Coordinated Tactics. And with this status, anytime an overload reaction is caused, the Pyro and Electro resistance of the opponents hit with the overloaded reaction will be decreased by 40% for 6 seconds. Now, because any character can cause it, not just Chevy, it is very easy to keep this buff up. Now, you might be thinking this is very similar to Nilou's passive, which is Bountiful Cores. The difference is that Nilou's passive buffs the bloom reaction to Bountiful Core. Chevy does not boost overloaded reaction. It debuffs or drops the enemy's resistance to Pyro and Electro. So you do not have to build for overload reaction, which is all level and elemental mastery. You can just do standard builds on your other characters that are going to be doing damage, because this has nothing to do with the damage from overloaded. You just want to cause it to then get the 40% decrease. Now, her second passive, which you get whenever you go up to level 70, means that whenever you use the hold version of her skill with an overcharged ball, which we'll talk about all of that whenever we get to her skill, whenever she does that, all nearby party members that are Electro and Pyro will be getting an increase in attack 1% for every 1,000 max HP for Chevy, up to 40%. So if you can get her to 40,000 HP, then you can get the full buff from this. So she is very, very good at buffing, very, very good at debuffing, and she's also a healer, which we will talk about that whenever we get to her skill. Okay, so a couple things before we get started. First, the entire party is made up of Pyro and Electro characters, being Yanfei, Chevy, Fischl, and Raiden. Now, because I do have Raiden, if I swap over to her and use her skill or her burst, then there will be the circle behind the character that's on the field. There's nothing to do with Chevy. That has everything to do with Raiden. So first off, we're going to talk about her normal attacks, and then we're going to go into her skill and her burst. So her normal attacks are just like standard for polearm. And her charge is also going to be standard for polearm, where it just kind of sprints through, right? Okay, so first we're going to talk about her skill. Also, this is the ring from Raiden. Just ignore that. That has nothing to do with Chevy. So her skill has a tap and a hold. If we tap it, it will fire her musket ball, doing AoE pyro damage. Now, you do see that the Electro and Pyro slime, some of them had those downward arrows on them. That means that they had their resistance to Pyro and Electro decreased because of the passive we talked about earlier. Now, her hold is the same thing. It is a little stronger, but it lets you aim. So it will give a little bit of a stronger damage, as well as firing the overcharged ball. Now, what is the overcharged ball? Do you see this little symbol beside Chevy of that bullet? That means that she has an overcharged ball, which just deals more damage. How do you get an overcharged ball? Just cause an overloaded reaction. That's all that you've got to do. So as you can see, shooting it at the electro slimes just causes the overloaded reaction, and it just gets her back the shot. Now something else, I'm going to let Chevy take some damage real quick because her skill heals as well. So we're just going to get some damage on her so that way we can show the healing effect. All right, so if we fire, she will start healing herself. Plus 620, plus 620, plus 620. Now, if you swap to another character, it will heal your character on the field. So Chevy is a healer, a buffer, and a debuffer. She can do a lot. So now we're going to talk about her burst. Now her burst is going to fire a larger musket ball at the enemies doing AoE pyro, also putting smaller explosive shells around the enemies that will then explode as well. So you see there, the smaller shells went out in that circle, and they will hit anything that is near them. Now, everything that has to deal with her buffing from the overcharged ball and from the healing comes from her skill. So her burst is just going to be there to help cause overloaded reactions in a larger AoE to then get their resistance to pyro and electro dropped. Now, because there are not many ways to get HP raising artifacts as like the set bonus without getting into the less beginner friendly artifact sets, with a 2-piece instructor and a 2-piece gambler to get her to do more damage. However, she does have HP percent main stats to get a little bit more HP. Now, these are not leveled up because she's almost AR 45, and then we're going to start running 5-star artifact domains for her to actually build Chevy. If you were lower AR and you do want to get some more HP on Chevy, you could definitely level these up and then just recycle them later on. I am a proponent of doing that, especially if you have more than enough to level up if you have some decent sets. Now, there are a lot of 2-piece and 4-piece sets that you can run with Chevy this early in the game because none of them will get up your HP. You can run a 2-piece Exile or 4-piece Exile to run Chevy more of a support to get energy recharge more readily available for your other characters. You can run the instructor set 2-piece or 4-piece to get up her elemental mastery to also get up everybody else's elemental mastery with the 4-piece set. Chevy can make good use of that even if you just have HP main stats. It's kind of more of a hybrid build. You can do Gambler, which again, 2-piece set increases skill damage by 20%. I don't think I would do a 4-piece Gambler on her just because that wouldn't really help because she's not going to be on the field very much. But you do want to have HP main stats to get more healing out of Chevy. Like I said, there's not really any artifact sets that get up your HP until you get into the higher leveled artifacts, like the Clam set or the new one that was in the domain, Songs of something, 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 something. That's like 3 words, but I can never remember what it's called. Song of Days Past. That's the artifact set that I was talking about that gets up your healing bonus. That's what I was talking about. So giving an artifact set to recommend for low AR players for Chevy is not as easy because, like I said, there are not many. I think there's only one that will get up your base HP as an artifact set and only raises it by 1,000, which you could easily just do something like this and get the 1,000 anyway, as well as having better artifact sets than that one. So everything that I'm saying here is definitely going to be more of my opinion than anything else. I think that technically the best artifact set to run for Chevy is Exile if you have an HP percent. That is going to be just straight up support Chevy, whereas my wife wanted a little bit more damage out of her, which is why she did 2-piece Gambler and 2-piece Instructor. Now, as for weapon, Black Tassel is one of, if not Chevy's best weapon for healing. It gets up your HP percent a lot. And while the passive doesn't really help you with increasing damage against slimes, the HP percent is really, really what you want. There is one other weapon that gets up HP percent that is a polearm, and that is a craftable weapon in Fontaine. So the polearm rightful reward is the craftable weapon in Fontaine, and it does get up your HP percent, and its passive is a lot better than the passive from Black Tassel. However, it won't get your HP up as much. And while it is pretty easy to get the material to purchase the ability to craft these weapons, getting some of the material will not be. Specifically, the Midlander polearm billet will be harder to get than the other two material that you need. Now, because of how Chevy's passive works, you only want pyro and electro characters in your party to get the debuff and the buff if you have her second passive. The only free characters that you are guaranteed that are only pyro and electro are Xiangling, Lisa, and Amber. Now, if you have been doing pulls on the current banner with Raiden and Yoimiya, then you might have other characters such as Raiden herself, you might have Sara, you might have Benny. Any of those can fill in some of these roles on this party, but we are going to assume that you have not gotten any of those, and we are going to look at this very beginner-friendly party, which you get Xiangling from clearing floor 3 of the Abyss, Lisa you're given to at the beginning, and Amber you're given to at the beginning. Okay, so we are going to be using a lot of off-field, so that way Lisa can cause the overloaded reactions. We're going to be using Baron Bunny to kind of get some crowd control. Using Chevy, of course, to heal, as well as getting the overcharged balls. Let's go ahead and use her burst. Xiangling's burst. And then just go back to Lisa and cause overloader reactions, right? So Lisa would kind of be our on-field overload trigger. Let's go ahead and get Baron Bunny back out. Let's get Guoba out as well.
Come a little closer. You're in for a little shock.
We're going to get Guoba out again. Baron Bunny.
Come a little closer.
Cause the overloader reaction.
Surrender and be gentle.
Now, right now, Chevy is, of course, the most built out of everybody. So she is going to be out damaging everybody. So as you can see, we're just causing overloaded reactions so that way we can get more damage out of kind of everybody.
Come a little closer.
And that is essentially how this team will work. No matter who you have in it, you just want to cause overloaded reactions so that way you can get the debuffs on the enemies. So that way your damage dealers can do more damage. If you had like Raiden, it would be Raiden doing the damage. My wife uses Yanfei, as you saw earlier. Now, if you have pulled any of the other characters on the banner, like Benny or Sara, I would definitely be using them over Lisa and Amber. I would still maybe keep Xiangling in there because Xiangling is really, really good. But if you don't, this party could definitely be used if you have some elemental mastery invested into Lisa and you have them higher than level 20, which my wife does not. That is going to be it for this beginner guide on Chevreuse. If you do have any questions, do be sure to leave a comment and I'll be sure to come answer it, and I will see you in the next video.